nurses will begin voting next month on whether to strike over pay and what will be the first walkout by the Royal College of Nursing in England and Wales. Now, they're asking for a 17% pay rise for NHS nurses, and they've branded offers that have come in between 4 and 10% as a disgrace. What do you think, Brenda? It's always controversial, striking. We've had many strikes, you know, very recently, rail strikes, tube strikes, barristers striking. What do you think about nurses possibly striking?
I think it's disappointing that we're still here, considering what the nurses went through during the pandemic and how everybody was behind them, everybody was supporting them, and there were promises made that they will be looked after. So I'm disappointed that they're still here and they're still trying to fight for a change in some way. You know, should they go out on strike? That seems to be the way that something gets done, unfortunately. There will be other areas that will suffer because of that, maybe, if they're out on strike, and then who's doing this and who's doing that. But I would support them. I will be supporting them. And I think, you know, it's good to get behind the frontline workers.
I suppose, Janet, you know, everybody's struggling, everybody's facing a cost of living crisis, everybody probably wants a pay rise. I mean, obviously, we have such love for the NHS and the staff who work in it, and particularly, as Brenda said, during the pandemic, we stood on our doorsteps and clapped for them.
Well, I think, we agree.
But where is the money coming from? And
well, the government did put up national insurance to put more money into the NHS, but the government's in a really difficult position. They've promised them a 4% pay rise. But given that our borrowing is at this all-time high and people are right across the board are staring into this abyss, this not knowing what's going to happen in September and October with their fuel bills, and that consequently the price of food rising and inflation going up. So everybody is worried, particularly people on low incomes, about how they're going to get through the autumn. So what I would like to see is the government now tell us what their strategy is going to be for helping lower-paid workers across the board. I don't deny that the nurses have got a strong case, but is their case any stronger than that of teachers or you know, of other care workers?
I suppose when they're facing life and death situations, which often they are, that possibly does that, in our minds, raise them above? You know, that's the thing about striking, I suppose. If you had a loved one in hospital now and you go, well, I kind of do support them striking, maybe that's the only way they can get the attention, but then you go, what happens to my loved one in the hospital?
I 100% am behind them in every way, 100% of everyone that's striking and all that. And I know what you're saying about where's the money coming from, and the government need to tell us what they're doing. Now, the government don't need to tell us. I'm sick of the government telling us what they're going to do. I want the government to show us what they're going to do. Start showing us. Stop talking about it and do something.
I do feel we're in a vacuum,
even with the rail
you?
strike, yeah, I really do. And the thing is, I've spoken to a lot. Obviously, I'm on the trains a lot, so I've spoken to the train people who are at the front line of the trains, if you know what I mean. And it's not about them being greedy and going, well, I want more money, which a lot of people see it because it affects them. You know, if someone goes on strike that doesn't affect you, we're all fine with it. But as soon as it affects our lives, we're like, oh, they just want more money. It's so much deeper than that. And there's a lot of these shareholders or whatever getting paid millions in bonuses, while these people who are literally on the front line are struggling to put food on the table, and especially the nurses.
Yeah, we have had so many of you get in touch. We asked you, particularly if you are a nurse. Dawn says, I am a nurse. We only want to be paid a fair wage for the level of responsibility we have. Many new nurses in training are heading for the more lucrative aesthetics profession rather than staying at the NHS.
Isn't that the problem, that the NHS as an organisation is overburdened with bureaucracy? A lot of the work, you know, speaking from just my brief experience doing a film about the NHS years ago, I could see that even 10 years ago, nurses are asked to do loads of form filling, online filing and all this rubbish that another category of worker could do. So nurses are being taken from the work they've been trained to do, the skilled work they've been trained to do all this form filling and everything else, exactly like...
Well, you say that,
surely if they got this pay rise, we would then have more people wanting to become nurses.
You say being asked to do things, you know, that are filling forms. There are some nurses have been sent a letter saying that they could be asked to double up as cleaners, required to act as cleaners for a whole shift. The trust involved said that they'd made the request very reluctantly because they're facing some of the most challenging circumstances. Sarah here, hello Sarah, thanks for getting in touch. I've left the hospital within the last few months. I thought the level of care required from one person was becoming unsafe. Plus, the endless paperwork, like you mentioned, ward staff are dropping like flies.
Yeah.
So people are exhausted.
Ridiculous.
You know,
give them what they want.
Yeah, less managers, I think.
And the person that wrote, I feel very sad, you know, oh, I feel very sad writing this, but we need cleaners. Stop writing it and you go and clean and let them do their job. They can do that while they're cleaning.
Tell them, Cole.
Honestly, I'm annoyed.
I can tell.
I'm really annoyed.
That's all right, you're allowed to be annoyed.
Thank
That's
you.
what we're here for.
Thank you.